They can't hear you. Keep trying to tell y'all they can't hear you. Y'all see that man at the airport? They can't hear you. Let me tell y'all, when you're awake, y'all remember my last page, I tried so hard. I even told every message, every experience, I tried so hard to wake people up. And I keep sending this message because y'all not getting it. They can't hear you. They speak the same English as you do and they can't hear you. And the reason is because words wind, words are spells, and they're under one. They don't have a way out yet, and you can't take nobody with you for real. That man at the airport was literally, he didn't say nothing wrong. Folks was like, oh, hell, that man, something wrong with that man. He had to look at somebody and say, shut the fuck up. Why? Because you know that you are really saying some real shit that pertains to everybody around you, and they cannot hear you. Save yourself.
Okay, so y'all, I have yet to do any kind of in-depth video on Epstein files, but I wanted to discuss this specific clip that went viral, I think it was last week, of the man crashing out in the airport in ATL. So let's take a quick look.
Because the Epstein files have been released. All of y'all are acting fucking normal. Epstein files have been released. And all of y'all are acting normal. All of y'all are acting normal. They can laugh, but y'all can Google it. They can laugh, but y'all can Google it. The Epstein files have been released, and all of y'all are acting normal. All of y'all are acting normal.
We're really concentrating. They might not lost their goddamn mind.
Airport is acting normal.
Everybody's calling.
No, you shut the fuck up.
Oh, wait, don't say nothing.
Because the Epstein files, what I'm reading, and everybody in this room can read. If you go to Google right now, everybody in this room can read. They are eating babies. They are trafficking children. And if you think for a second any fucking thing in your life matters, you are on the fucking wrong side of history. You are on the fucking wrong side of history. It don't matter about the flight. It don't matter about who in this fucking airplane. It don't matter about this nigga walking past you right now.
All right, now when I first saw that video, I thought it was very Black Mirror-ish, with everyone just kind of standing around recording and laughing at that man. But then I'm not gonna lie, I felt slightly bad because I realized halfway through watching the clip, you know, this guy doesn't really get it. He doesn't get that none of these people can hear him. You know, like the woman in the initial clip said, none of these people around him can hear him. They're not hearing what he's saying. And when I'm saying they, I'm referring to like the normies, right? Like essentially like normies or NPCs. I don't really like throwing around the term NPC haphazardly like that, I'll be honest, but I understand people correlate it with like normal folks and normal people, everyday people that you encounter. Most of those people are going to be normal, normies, quote unquote. So a lot of times you'll find that when you're interacting with them on a day-to-day basis, they're operating on a completely different frequency than you are, right? They're tuned into a completely different station than you are. A lot of times these are people that don't even have an inner dialogue or monologue occurring in their head. A lot of times they don't even dream, right? Or they don't have a certain quality of dreams that you'll find with other individuals who've reached a certain level of like consciousness or have awakened to a certain extent. I'll never forget, I had a coworker that would say that like when she dreams, she doesn't see faces. You know, people are just kind of like blurs, and like she's never had a dream in which she can recall seeing anyone's actual face. And I had to wonder to myself after talking to her, like, is it normal that I see faces? Is it normal that I recognize people in dreams, or that like I can recall distinctly how people are looking, or like there's a certain level of vividness to my dreams that she's not encountering. That was probably one of the first times I ever came to the realization that, okay, like not everybody dreams the same way. And then you have some people that don't dream at all, right? And that can even be related to like their lifestyle. I'm not going to get on a tangent about dreams in this video because I could definitely go there. But there's definitely a correlation between someone that is living, a relatively healthy lifestyle and then has reached a certain level of awareness within this matrix, and their ability to have a quality dreams or to even recall their dreams versus somebody that doesn't dream at all, doesn't think on that level. And I find that these people, they tend to have very robotic, antiseptic personalities. They're very surface level thinkers. They're living life on autopilot. And when you're an awakened being, when you've experienced an ego death, you begin to realize that everyone around you is asleep and they don't understand you. They cannot hear you. Like I said, you're turning the radio dial and you're reaching a station that you're trying to reach a station that comes through clearly, and you're kind of in that in between where it's like really staticky and it's really fuzzy, and like that's what you sound like to them because they can't hear you. Now, what's funny is what I find is that when people have reached a certain level of consciousness or awakening on their soul's journey, we can hear everyone. In fact, we overhear things, right? But people don't hear us. People don't understand us. And when it comes to like this guy and his whole reaction, like he wasn't getting it. It wasn't getting through to him. Like they can't hear him. And because they can't hear you, you're speaking and you're not making any sense to them, that's going to cause you to look crazy or appear crazy. And what I found interesting was reading the comments on a lot of the videos where he was, rightfully crashing out. There were so many people in the comments stating like, this guy has got it right, like this guy is having the appropriate reaction. And like, it's fascinating to see, because I always say that what's interesting about the online space or the internet is that people are allowed to congregate that wouldn't normally meet up in real life or wouldn't normally encounter one another in real life, and are able to validate one another in ways that you don't always get in real life. But that's also why I would say a lot of things that occur in online spaces don't translate to real life. So while that comment section of that video where he's crashing out and all these people are validating him and all these people are saying, oh my God, I wish I had been there, I would have affirmed him, I would have agreed with him, I would have done this, I would have done that. It's like, but you weren't there, right? You weren't there. So you can't really say what you would or would not do. It's a very good chance that even despite you being as awake and conscious as you likely are, that you probably wouldn't have said or done anything. You probably would have been like everyone else in that airport, in that terminal, that was just staring at him and recording him, right? And I think that what this guy was kind of going through, and it sucks that it happened in that specific setting, but I feel like what he was going through is like his like initial awakening stage. Because when you first awaken to like the truth of like what this world is and what's going on, a lot of times you just want to like run out there and like tell everyone, you want to preach to everyone, you want everyone around you, your loved ones, your friends, your family, strangers, you want them to all get on the same frequency as you. And you will quickly find that you're going to get a lot of resistance. You'll find a lot of times that the people that you're reaching out to, they don't even have any interest in your reaching your level of consciousness or taking on the same knowledge that you have or coming to the same conclusions that you have. They kind of just want to do their own thing. So you'll exhaust yourself in the process, and sometimes even lose your mind in the process of trying to wake them up. And that's why I loved the message that the woman in the initial clip shared, and I wanted to share it all, because ultimately it's not your or my job to save anyone, to save these NPCs, to save these normies. Like, it's not your job. It's not our job to wake them up or save them. And I know it's really difficult to process that, like, or come to terms with that. Personally, I had moments where I was feeling bad, like, oh my God, like people weren't getting the messages that I was conveying. people weren't understanding what I was saying. People were just writing me off as a conspiracy theorist, and I felt really, really bad about it. But then when I reached a certain level of knowledge and awareness with different situations, and I wanted to share it with other people, and I found, okay, I'm getting labeled as negative, judgmental, or crazy. It's like, okay, I'm just going to start keeping this to myself, or I'm only going to open up and share when I know I'm in the presence of other like-minded individuals that are going to be receptive to the information that I have to share. And it's not for everyone. And that's something that you kind of have to learn over time. Obviously, in this guy's case, like, he was maybe still going through like the shock of like finding out all those terrible things after reading the files and seeing all of the names and the people implicated. He just had a meltdown in a really public space, and it's unfortunate that it played out like that. But I just think that his reaction is just a primary example of what it looks like when you have reached a certain level of awareness about this world and what it really is, this matrix, and what's happening to people, and how monstrous and terrible a lot of people are in this matrix, in this world. And you want to do something about it. You want to kind of fix it, but you then realize, okay, 99.9% of everyone around you is just totally content with how things are going. And another thing I wanted to note on that note is just how it's really important to understand that, like, whatever path you're walking, like whatever journey you consider yourself to be on as a chosen one or awakened soul, if you're on a spiritual journey, there's so many different terminologies for what it is that a lot of people are going through psychologically. But essentially, when you're self-actualizing and you're reaching higher levels of consciousness, you also need to know that most other people didn't come here for that purpose. Like, you came here for that purpose. I incarnated into this life to have this experience of being awakened. But that was because in my previous lifetimes, I was asleep. Right? In my previous lifetimes, I was so much more tethered to the material world, and I was of the world. And in this incarnation, literally in this lifetime that I'm having, I'm genuinely meant to be talking about what I'm talking about, and like tapping in spiritually and reaching higher levels of consciousness. Like, that is my purpose for this life, right? But as much as I'm here for that, I need to be mindful of the fact that everyone else is not here for that either. Everyone else is not here to take down the man, or take down, like, go after these, like, the vast majority of people are not going to get on board with that. They're not here to do that. That's not their purpose. And that's why they don't really have any desire to hear what you're talking about, because it's just something they were never meant to be interested in. It's something they were never supposed to devote their life to. And I liken it to people who are really into astrology, and they believe in astrology. I'm someone that really is into astrology, but then you have others that don't believe in it, and they'll be intelligent people on both sides. I've met people who are very intelligent, highly educated, that were very into astrology. They're successful in their own right. And then I've met people who were very intelligent and successful in their own right. They don't believe anything to do with astrology. They think it's a load of crap. They think it's nonsense. Right? But then you can have two individuals who can sit and they can talk about astrology for hours, the topic of it, aspects, synastry, transits, all the more technical aspects of it. They can sit there and have a whole full-blown conversation about it amongst a group of people or other individuals who don't believe in it. And it's going to sound like, to those other people that don't believe in it or are not interested in it, it's going to sound like those two people are speaking a different language, even if they're both speaking English. It's going to sound like such a foreign concept to comprehend that they won't be able to digest what those two people are talking about, because they're speaking on a subject matter they're unfamiliar with, right? And so, any kind of, and that goes for any kind of non-mainstream belief or interest that you may have. That's something that's very unique to you, and the other people that share your interest, and other people aren't necessarily going to buy into that same thing. So while the guy in the airport was crashing out, and people were affirming him and, in the comments and saying, oh, he's having a very normal reaction to finding out that a good chunk of our world leaders, politicians, celebrities, educators, researchers, scientists, all these people are like the elite, quote unquote, they're all like cannibalistic pedophiles. Like, I mean, who wouldn't freak out? Like, that's so normal. Like, oh, and they're trafficking children on top of that, right? And that's something to absolutely be shocked and appalled about, like disgusted about. But, people also commenting online like, oh my God, this guy's so bad. Oh my God, like he's so real. Like he's so real and they're all fake. People love to posture online and say what they would or would not have done. But I bet that most of you all that are saying that, even if you felt the same way that he did, you probably wouldn't have done anything, because if you're in an airport, you're usually there because you're trying to get to another place safely. So you have people in airports, they have places to be. Airports are very anxiety inducing places. It's very tense places a lot of the time. A lot of times people's only concern is getting to their destination, rightfully so. And this also, like, Americans, we're very individualistic, right? Like, that's just a fact. Like, we're very much self-absorbed, we're very much concerned about ourselves mainly, and just, again, safely getting to our destination. So no, like, I saw some pilots walking by, like, no, they're not going to stand there, stop and like high five this guy and stand and talk. No, they got a plane to drive, across the world. So they're not going to stop and engage with this person who's rightfully crashing out about the Epstein files, because they have places to be and things to do. Now, do I think people could have affirmed him? Sure, like, I think they could have, but I just don't think that was the right setting for him to have that moment, because it wasn't going to produce anything meaningful. And I think this is where, like, the distinction comes in, where you have someone that's having a meltdown or like a schizophrenic episode, and then you have someone that has reached a certain level of like awareness, and they are just content with what the world is, like the matrix that they're operating within. And someone that it's just for the first time having their eyes open to the reality of the world that they're living in. I think that this guy was kind of experiencing the former, like he was having an episode because it was his first time really opening his eyes to the reality of what is happening, not only in this country, but in this world as a whole, like what this world is like. And I think that was just difficult for him to digest. And his reaction is kind of just like reaching that first level of awareness, which can look like a schizophrenic episode or crash out. But once you kind of get beyond that point, you kind of just come to terms, like after you reach that realization, like, okay, very few people in this world are awake. Majority of people are asleep. Most people don't care. Most people would rather just live their life on autopilot mode. So what can I do, right? I can live my life knowing that I have the knowledge of who the real monsters in this realm are, and I can use it to move accordingly. And to me, that's genuinely how I live life, and I see it as an advantage. Something that I mentioned on this channel before, I acknowledge, is power. I don't see the point of throwing on a cape thinking I'm going to be the savior of everyone else, and I'm going to single-handedly elevate everyone's conscious levels. Like, I don't have the time to do that. And even if I could, I probably wouldn't. Like, I'm not Jesus, right? And I'm not so arrogant or egotistical to think that I'm capable of doing any of that. I'm doing my part by sharing my thoughts and giving guidance on YouTube, but this is just a single platform. I will in no way be able to reach the vast majority of people who are asleep in this realm, right? And more than likely, again, they will not be able to hear me anyway. But what I can do is use the knowledge that I have to help me navigate this matrix and make the process as beneficial as possible for myself with the knowledge that I have, with knowing that the majority of everyone around me is asleep, is an NPC, is a normie, they're living life very robotically. It allows me to interact with this world in a way that is going to be beneficial to me, because I know what this reality really is. I know what's beyond this realm. I know what's waiting on the other side, or I have an idea of what's waiting on the other side. I won't say that I know that nobody knows anything for sure what's waiting. It could be nothing on the other side, but I have a general idea of what is potentially waiting for me, right? And that's also what allows me to not feel overly tethered to the material world, because I understand what this is. I understand this is a prison planet. I understand that this matrix is one in which suffering is not optional. It's like encouraged. It's kind of created to produce that in abundance. So with that knowledge, I know, okay, this is not a world that I necessarily need to be overly tethered to, right? Or that I even want to necessarily come back to. So, but that's having that knowledge and insight is what allows you to not freak out in the way that that guy did, because you understand that this is a world that's it's plagued with demons. Like it is what it is, and no one person is going to be able to change that. But you can elevate in consciousness to ascend above it, to where that you make it so that you don't interact with those kinds of individuals, that you steer clear of them, that you do your best to make sure the people you care about that may also be asleep also avoid them, right? So that was my thoughts on it, y'all. And again, I do feel like the guy and his response was valid, but I just feel like once you come to the realization, like, that, okay, America's economy was built off of exploitation and trafficking. Like, the foundation of America's economy is literally human trafficking. This is a fact. Trafficking of drugs, organs, children, women, like ex-traffic, like all these things are what's booming. That's the most booming aspect of America's economy. It's the underbelly of America's economy. Once you realize that most people participate in it, how many of our systems actively fuel it, like the CPS, Child Protective Services system, actively fuels a lot of those industries. When you realize how many people indulge in it, it's going to have you looking at life very differently. And having all of that information can be mentally distressing at times, but it's also empowering. Knowledge is power. You know, on this channel, I spoke about the DL warlocks on this channel, but more women coming to the realization that a large majority of males in this life are not in fact straight. That's empowering information. Like, it's helpful information for women to have when they're navigating the dating scene with men, like when they're navigating relationships with any men in their life, even their fathers or brothers, cousins, and any woman also that has to or is inclined to be involved with like a demographic of males that are most prone to having STDs or HIV infections in this country. Speaking specifically about America, it's important to know the behavioral patterns of these down low males, these down low warlocks, because that's what allows you to avoid them. Getting into contact with them, getting into contract with them, procreating with them, sleeping with them, housing them. It allows you to avoid and sidestep that and protect not only your bodily health, but your mental health, just by having that insight, that knowledge into what they are, what their behaviors are, and how they will energy harvest you, how they'll steal your essence via those acts that they try to make you participate in specifically. So having that kind of knowledge, having occult knowledge in general, insight into how these people operate, it can be jarring at first. It can be frightening at first, but it always ends up serving you in the end, because it allows you to see this matrix for what it is and has you understand why it exists, why we are existing within it, and how to navigate it in a way where you don't have to be around those kinds of people. You can avoid them. You can actively avoid them. And you can get in alignment with your actual people that are on the same wavelength of awareness and consciousness that will actually be able to hear you. So yeah, that's the video.